Right. So welcome to welcome to the next Daytona stream. We're gonna do some learning on Daytona and also some open source. Check some things out. We're gonna run music today, so hopefully we can all listen to some excellent tunes and get some work done while in the background. So let's talk about what I've been working on. So if we go to Daytona, all right, we'll go to the Daytona org, and here there's the Go dev container. So this dev container used to live inside of Daytona, inside of the dev container. So it used to be here. Matter of fact, it still is here because this change hasn't gotten merged yet. And I wanted to pull it out, and I wanted to pull it out for a couple of reasons. So one is that we can pre-build it in here, in this environment. So this actually has GitHub Actions that are running that will do the pre-builds, and that's going to make overall, it'll make starting faster because you won't actually have to go through all the build. Turns out that this actually does take a little bit of time to install Docker and Go and Node on top. So we pulled all this out, and then we set up these actions. So if we drill into these actions, we can talk about these a little bit later, what these do, but these are pretty simple actions. So there's one that does the main branch, and then there's one that does a release. So the main branch is a build branch, and it on any main push, it will check out the code. It'll set up BuildX, which is going to let us do cross-platform builds. It logs into GCR to make sure that we can push these images somewhere, and then it uses the dev container action to actually build and release these. So in this case, there's a bug that I needed to add this for now, but it's going to build at this address. It's going to cache from this address, which is fantastic because BuildX can use an existing cache, and so some of the sub layers or some of the intermediate layers will actually get pushed along with the image, and then BuildX can use those as a cache, where if it already has that layer pre-built, it's not going to redo that. So you'll be able to see if we cause a build to happen and nothing really changes, it's going to be super fast. It'll also build this for both ARM and x86, and the reason that we're doing that is that dev environments, especially nowadays with Mac, need ARM. So if you're building for a community and you need that to work for everybody, you need to build for x86 and ARM. There's a bunch of underlying requirements there, which we can talk about, but and then also it tags this main and latest. I hate latest. It comes from the time I was at Docker. I think a lot of people think that the latest tag is sort of an automatic tag, that it bounces around automatically. It doesn't. It points to whatever it used to point to, and if you leave it and it doesn't get updated, it will continuously point to something old. So in this case, we're just going to make main and latest synonyms. If you use latest, you'll get main. If you use main, you'll get whatever the main release is. We also added this, which is a release branch, and so only on tags starting with V, so V1 or major minor patch, we're going to do more or less the same flow, except we're also going to use Docker's metadata action. So Docker has this really awesome metadata action that can calculate a bunch of different ways to version Docker images. It can also do things like labels. It can do all kinds of cool things. I primarily have used it for tagging. So in this case, we're going to get a list of tags. We're going to separate those tags with commas, and we'll see why that's important in a minute. And we're going to give it 3 separate tags. We're going to give it a tag for the major, the minor, the patch, the major, the minor, and the major. And so you'll get 3 image tags all pointing to the same image. And what that allows you to do on the container side is you can pin to any of these and behavior will be slightly different. So if you pin to the major, the minor, and the patch, that release will never change. You have pinned to a release, it will never update. You'll stay there until you choose to update it. If you pin to the major and the minor, well, the next time a patch release comes out, that major minor tag will actually get overridden. And so if you pin to that and you say, I want to use this image at the major or the minor, you will automatically get the patch releases. Same thing for the major. If you pin to a major release, what you're saying is, so in this case, what you're saying is, I'm okay with bug fixes, because in Semver, the only thing that you can change in a patch release is bug fixes. And so what you're saying by pinning to major and minor, I want bug fixes, but don't make any changes. When you pin to the major, what you're saying is, I want you to keep the broad interface, but you can add things, just don't take away things. So in this case, for this image, the contract that this dev container is giving me, if we go back and look at it, this dev container is basically making sure that a user is there, that Docker is there, that Go is there, that Node is there, and the dev container CLI is there. So as long as those things are there, then this interface to me has been agreed upon, and don't change that. So if you were gonna knock Docker out, you would need to bump the major so that people wouldn't automatically go along with that. Also, it's a major change to say, hey, I'm not going to use Docker anymore. I'm not going to use Go anymore. So you want people to see that. But that's what we've done. So now, if we go back and look at this, so you get these. We're also turning off, by default, the metadata tag also sets latest, which drives me nuts. So we're telling it not to use latest. And we go through the same flow. We're going to log into GitHub, and then we're going to use the build and release from the Docker container action to build this. Here's where it gets a little different, and we have to do a little bit of a change. So right now, the dev container doesn't support this metadata format from Docker. And so we have to do a little bit of a workaround. So in the Docker metadata, the image name is included is included as part of the tag. So it's not just main or latest. When you ask for the tags, which happen in like this environment variable, you get the whole image name and the tag. And so what we're doing with this extra step is we're basically stripping that out. So here's the delimiter is comma, which is what we've got up here, and then go through this list and strip out the prefix, and then echo that to an output, and then we use the step, so the DC meta step, to get the output for the tags. And through that, we get that data back, and then we'll push to those things. So if we go to the top, let's see, go back to the dev container and go look at the packages. So latest and main are both there, and then the major minor, and the patch are also there. So all of this is ready to go, and you can consume it. It tells you to use latest. That's fine. You can use latest. I would use main, but we migrated all of that over. So let's go look at this. And so this is in Daytona. This is the dev container file that we used to have, which had a Docker file, which installed, let's see, where's the Docker file? Basically just put a script across. We didn't actually need to do this step, and installed a handful of things. So if we go look at the pull request for this, we can see what the difference is. So I've made some changes, but let's go look at here. So we get rid of all of this and switch to this, which is so much easier. But I also wanted to show how much faster it is. So let's go to source in Daytona. We're gonna get checkout main and get fetch all. Let me make this a little bit bigger for everybody on both these sides. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and pop that full screen for right now. Now we're gonna rebase onto upstream main. Make sure we're good. Great. We're gonna, while we're here, we're gonna push origin main. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the changes from, I have a fork. I'm taking the changes from Daytona and then pushing that up to my fork. So we're now in, if we go look at the dev container, this should be the old one. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the dev container CLI. Oh, it wasn't workspace. What is it? Workspace folder. Going to time this. So we're going to say time the dev container up. And so this is make sure Docker's running. Okay. Try that again. I want to time this. Actually, real quick, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do Docker images and see what we got. There's a bunch of stuff. So Docker ps-a, what do we got in here? Okay, there's some stuff. I'm going to clean this up. So we're going to do, we're going to delete some of this out. So Docker rm. And I'm gonna, what I want to do is I want to clear out all of the images and containers so that we have the fastest, well, we see how long it actually takes to build. Okay. So now if we do Docker images, we should see nothing. Great. So now we're going to time how long this build takes using the old dev container where it's not pre-built. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to resolve a bunch of dependencies and pull those down. And basically a dev container build is just a full build. It builds each starts with the base image, and then when a feature runs, it just runs those scripts inside of a new layer and layers that on top of that previous image. And so you could think of features as just adding more layers on top of whatever base image you describe. And so you'll see that in the target stages, it's going through 2 of 7, 3 of 7, 4 of 7, because it's effectively adding new layers on top. And there can be a lot of layers because a given feature might do a couple different things. So because features can actually pull in other features, and so you might actually get a bunch of different tools. But this should probably take. This is on my very large desktop. Lots of I think I have a gig internet here. It should go pretty fast. It should probably at least still take 2 minutes, is my guess. So we'll see how long it'll take. If you have any questions, just go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. But I think this is going to be a really good quality of life change for everybody that's developing it. And let me pull up the let's get this back out. So we'll pull this over here while that changes. And I wanted to show a couple of other things about this Daytona image. So, okay, so real quick, that's running, and now it's running the post create command. So it looks like it took about 108 seconds to do that part, and now it's doing this next part, and then it should be up and running. Great. So that took 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Super. Let's go ahead and do git checkout, and then we're get the pre-build. So now this has it with the dev container JSON as that image. So this should be markedly faster. So let's see how fast this goes. Oh, it's already running. So let me go ahead and docker ps. We'll go ahead and force that stop. We're going to go ahead and just clean up the images just in case. All right. So now we'll get this from scratch, and we'll see that this will go way faster. So the first thing it's going to do is actually download that image, and this will just be at whatever your internet speed is. And so the image itself is, I think, about 1.8 gigs. That's primarily because it has a JDK in it. It has Node in it. It has Go in it. It has a couple other utilities. So it's definitely a large image. And my internet is tragically slow today. That's unfortunate. So this is going to take... I wonder if I have this on a spinning disk as opposed to a... All right, it took half the time, but yeah, it took about a minute. So GitHub or yeah, it was on GitHub. So GitHub was slow to download this image. It definitely took a long time to get these last couple of layers. But once it's up and running, it should still be faster than 2 minutes. Yeah, so a minute 40. So it was about 40 seconds faster. But if we get rid of this, basically just delete the image and then ask it for again, it'll go so much faster. So the second time it launched in 0.6 seconds, and now it's doing the post create command, which it always does. Every single time you do a launch, this will be consistent across everything. So this time it will absolutely go way faster. So figuring out how to get it to stop downloading a specific version of Go, that's in the mod, so we just need to make sure that we can fix that real quick. So that took 39 seconds, which is much faster. So if we go back to what I was trying to show, there are plugins for Daytona, and so here's one of them. It's the Docker provider, and this uses the exact same, it used to use the exact same dev container, and so that means that you would have a copy of it for everything you did. But now that we fixed it, it's using the same Go main as everything else, and so once you have it once, it'll go super fast. And I think that's the best part around getting these environments up and running, is that you can get consistency. Also, we're gonna go make a change because we need to make a change to fix that Go issue. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go to Go dev container, and we're gonna go to code. We're actually gonna pull in 121. And let's just make sure that's what we really wanna do. So if we go to Docker Daytona provider and go to the Go mod, it's using 22.1. That's all right. Let's make sure we get this right. So that says 22.1. Now if we go to Daytona and go to Daytona proper, Go mod 22.1. All right, great. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to install 22.1. Go here, get diff, super, get commit. One thing that also changed with Daytona was that we switched to DCO for tracking dev commits. And so instead of having a CLA, we used to have a contributors file, and we moved to DCO. So DCO just requires that you do a sign off, and all that does is it adds this sign off by Chad Metcalf. Now what we do need to do is we do need to do get branch Go version, get checkout Go version. So I should have done this on a branch anyway before I did that, but we can do this. Get push origin Go version. I'm gonna go open a new, there we go. This will trim a few seconds off Go re-downloading the version in the post create script. All right, so I'm gonna create this. I'm not gonna. I'll tag him in the review. All right, so now we've got that. When that's done, we will actually push. We'll push a. Well, we won't push a tag right now. We'll wait until Daytona accepts it as a. As the internal. Right now, we need one more person to sign off. Looks good to me, and then we can release it. All right. Welcome. If you were working on Daytona, if you have any questions, just let me know. Happy to chat more about it. So what we have been working on is making the dev container super fast. One of the things I wanted to touch on, though, was when we did this, we learned all kinds of stuff about dev container. So I'm going to go ahead and make this. We're going to do that, and then do that again. Okay. Right. So what did we learn? So I'm going to go back. And we're going to make a new test com and go. So we're going to go into here, test com and go. We're going to add dev container configuration files, and we're going to pick two. We're going to pick common. Oh no, we're going to use Ubuntu as our base. Jammy's fine. And we're going to use common, and then we're going to use Go. Keep defaults, configure options. Right now we're going to just continue with that. To features. And we're going to go to common. So what we did was we did username. We wanted it to be Daytona. And then if we leave it like that, and reopen and rebuild. Let's get rid of this for right now. Full screen. Oops. What did it fail on? That's interesting. Oh, not interesting. Bring this back. So that's a problem with Docker on Windows in WSL, where it can't find the Docker credential manager and it breaks the build. I have no idea why that doesn't work. I filed a ticket a long time ago. It's still not fixed. It's just the way it is. Hey, Lawson. All the way in Brazil. What time is it? Like, Brazil is past East Coast hours, right? So it's probably 4 hours ahead, 5 hours ahead of Pacific. Let's go ahead and watch this real quick. So one thing that I noticed was when we tried to build this is that the using usernames in with the Go plugin things 2 p.m. Yeah. So 1 hour ahead of East Coast. When we tried to put usernames in there, the Go plugin actually didn't work. It broke because it uses /go as its default Go path, and the permissions didn't work. So I want to see if I can figure out why that didn't work. But this is the fastest way to get going with a dev container. It's actually why I really like dev container. So I just created a new directory, said, hey, add dev container files to this directory, and at the end of it, I will have an Ubuntu install that has Go all set up for me. So pretty simple way to get Go. But if you notice, like, that's just Ubuntu and Go, and this one is taking upwards of 2 minutes. So pre-building it really does eventually help a lot and make it much faster. So there's that. Now let's go to a new terminal. So if I look at what the permissions for Go are, and if I look at what my permissions are, oh, I am in Golang, so I should be able to write here. Oh, so it's interesting. I added a username for Daytona, so my guess is that's in there, home Daytona. But it didn't actually use it, so I need to actually do this, Daytona. Now it's going to want to rebuild. We're going to go ahead and rebuild. And this is where I think it breaks. Or at least this is where it broke for me the last time. And this is why Daytona is... This is why Daytona puts the user into our base Docker container. We wanted to have a Daytona user. We wanted that user to have a GID that would be 1,000, so that it would have the best chance of matching. And almost done. It's taking a long time. Oh, so this is running the Go install again. So this is why a pre-build helps so much, is building the pre-build and making the pre-build, or making the image work, is it takes time, and it takes this amount of time to make sure everything works. But once you have it, you don't have to keep doing this. And reinstalling all of the Go every single time, which I definitely recommend checking out pre-builds and getting them set up for your projects, because it's just going to be so much faster. This should be done. And now let's see. All right, I'm still in the Golang group. That's good. So oh, interesting. It did catch it. So I don't know why this didn't work. It's because it's because this was in here, maybe. Interesting. It doesn't matter to me as long as it works. So that looks like it's working. So we can just to make it a little more concrete what we were looking at. Somebody has to add a user, and sometimes it's this shell, sometimes it's us. So yeah, so I took it out of here and put it into here. So it also sets up sudo for us, and so everything, the Docker image here just installs the things that we need, and that don't come through a feature, and then the features take care of everything else. So Docker and Docker, Go, Node, and the dev container CLI, and then that's it. It's got everything it needs. So this should be everything that you need. So that should be a good place to start. So I closed all my windows. Let me go get another window back. Let's see what else. Oh, that's dev container features. We don't want to work on dev container features. Go back to Daytona, and we'll go back to Daytona. Actually, one thing we could do is we could test out Daytona for... Oh, we have a new release 29 minutes ago. Let's go check that out. So I'm going to go to download Daytona. Go into Daytona, go to that release, and get the Windows ARM release. Cool. Now, if I go to Oh, I closed it. I actually want a PowerShell. Let's make this bigger. We will close you for now. Cool. So I've got that. Now we're going to move downloads. Daytona something. Nope. Windows. We'll move it to bin. Daytona exe. All right, so RM. So now Daytona. Oh, thought I had bin in my path. That's fine. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. Excellent. So we should be able to do Daytona provider list. Oh, we need to start Daytona. We need to do Daytona server. Go ahead and allow that. I'm going to go ahead and just make a new PowerShell. Let that one run in the background. Now if we do Daytona and do provider list. Interesting. Can we do create repository? So for me, it just doesn't seem to work. Unsupported protocol string. Scheme. Oh, that's fine. Let's go file a bug. Let's go grab this. Make this less gigantic so that you can see something else besides that. We're going to go to Daytona issues. Let's just check what Windows is. All right, so cannot set target on Windows. Okay, so I don't think this has been filed. So I'm going to say new issue bug report. So Windows 11. Let's go grab that. So is it every command? So if we do yeah. back. Check the preview for this. Yeah, great. The server is running happily and shows no errors. So what do? We downloaded OB4 from downloads Daytona.io. Ran Daytona server. I expected it to work. List workspaces, create workspaces, list the providers. No screenshot. Operating system is Windows 11. Browser doesn't matter. And this is 040. No additional context. All right. So we've got that. Let's switch to my Mac environment and we will, there we go. And we'll go look at the versions over here. The new one. Make this bigger. Hopefully everyone can see it. And now we're gonna do, 1 second. Hey Tomek, it is the new version. It's if I hold on, let me switch back to the. I filed a bug for it, but we are getting unsupported protocol scheme. So if we go look at the server, so it doesn't even list. So the server itself seems to be running just fine, but if you do Daytona list or provider list, basically any command, Docker provider might not be updated. So I did try to do Docker provider. I guess you could do install, but it comes back with Docker provider update. Everything comes back with, so sure, Daytona profile ls. Where did this profile come from? I didn't even know I had a profile. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know where that profile, how that profile got there. There's the issue. Great. Can I delete these things? It is an old machine. It is. Well, I mean, it's an old. This is a brand new install of Daytona on Windows. Okay, let's go ahead and stop the server. Where's the config on Windows? App data. Got it. Let's do app data roaming Daytona. Yep, got it. So now if we go back and do server, and now do, great, that worked. That worked. When in doubt, blow away the config. List. Great. Well, we can do it here then. We'll just stay in here. Make this a little bit bigger for the folks to see. So now if we do create, the whole folder. All right. Let's go close this real quick. There we go. Let's go back. Server. We should make a Daytona doctor or something command that can do things like, do you need purge the config or whatever. But let's try create now. Yep, that looks good. So we're going to create a simple Astro workspace creation request submitted. Docker's up and running, so it should be there. I can hear fans, so something's starting. Yeah, so just for people who haven't seen it, the first time I installed Daytona on this Windows box, it was actually before the open source. And so the config directory we were using had leftover config from the commercial version before we open sourced. So, oh, it's probably pulling the image. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. And it's, let's go to Docker Desktop. Go look at the images. think this one, right? I don't know. We'll give it another minute. But so everybody say hello to Toma and Yvonne in the chat. Thanks for dropping by and helping me fix this. Nico should be happy I broke something. I can definitely hear... There we go. I was going to say, I could definitely hear something taking off. So now let's do... Oh, invalid IDE. Interesting. What did I set my IDE for? VS Code. Now let's just code. And we'll do test. There we go. That's a Linux box. So I haven't actually... Oh, this is so great. Yes! Awesome. I've been so... I haven't been able to run Daytona on the Linux box because I run most of my work in the WSL directory. And even though I can install WSL, Daytona in WSL, it doesn't work because the VS Code in Windows lives outside of WSL, and so when the remote extension tries to go, it can't find it. And so I'm sure we're not the only people that have to deal with the oddities of where things live in WSL because it blurs the lines between the things. But yeah, this is great. I haven't been able to do this yet. So if we come in here and open a new terminal, we should be able to do dev server. Oh, wait, what was that? What's that command? Run dev. Did you mean to install? Oh, we didn't. Oh, we need to rebuild and reopen in a container. So that launched it into that, but didn't launch it inside of the dev container. So now we're inside the dev container. So now we're launching this. Well, I'm gonna have to do a whole new demo on Windows because I've never got it working, and it's awesome that it's working. So that's super helpful. Thanks, Toma. All right. Time flies. It's already been an hour. This is a good place to wrap up. So what we have, it's doing the post install right now, and it's doing npm install and adding all these packages. Wow. It always surprises me how many packages a very small JavaScript application actually uses. It is so... There's 508 dependencies on this application, which just blows my mind. So it's going to run that, and now it's going to run dev. That's going to be up here in a second. There it goes. Finally. Huh. That's weird. I would expect that it would actually show the button. There it is. Renders faster when you do it. All right. Not sure why that took so long, but it now it works. So that was great. Super. That's what it's supposed to do. And now you've got everything you need to develop this application. Let's go ahead and drop out of this dev container. And now if we come down here and do delete test. Got it. Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's a good place to stop. We just got to test out the new Windows support running in PowerShell. So everything that you need inside of your PowerShell side, which I'm really excited about. That's fantastic. And I will have to test that out some more. Come by on next Tuesday and maybe we'll do some more testing with Windows and getting things working in Windows. So thanks everyone for dropping by today. We're going to stream Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be here working on Daytona open source, but also answering your questions about Daytona. So thanks for dropping by. I'll see you next week.